America's Newsroom on the ground again today in Israel as escalating tensions here in the Middle East reverberate around the world. Yesterday, we took you for a rare and exclusive look inside of Gaza. We went to visit a food distribution center, and what we saw was remarkable. We were speaking to everyday Gazans, what they have to say about the ongoing war that's coming up on 2 years, and what they say about the leadership of Hamas still operating inside Gaza. Soon we'll sit down with the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. More on that exclusive encounter coming up momentarily, but in the meantime, live in Tel Aviv, I'm Bill Hemmer, and welcome to our program today. And Dana, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill. I'm Dana Perino. This is America's Newsroom. It's been an incredible opportunity for our viewers to get an eyewitness account from someone they trust so much, so thank you for being there. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu reportedly wants a major expansion of military action in Gaza, fighting for the complete defeat of the terror group Hamas, with full reoccupation of Gaza reportedly under consideration. Netanyahu convening his security cabinet tomorrow, and President Trump spoke about it yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you support Israel reoccupying all of Gaza, as has been suggested by some Israeli officials?
Well, I don't know what the suggestion is. I know that we are there now trying to get people fed. As you know, $60 million was given by the United States fairly recently to supply food, and a lot of food, frankly, for the people of Gaza that are obviously not doing too well with the food. And I know Israel's going to help us with that in terms of distribution. That's what I'm focused on. As far as the rest of it, I really can't say. That's going to be pretty much up to Israel.
All right, Bill, there's so much to ask you. Let me start with this. Do you believe that Israel is going to go back in?
Well, that's the conversation that Benjamin Netanyahu had yesterday with his chief of army. Apparently, their meeting lasted 3 hours. He's going to meet with his cabinet on Thursday evening after we have an opportunity to sit down and talk to him in Jerusalem. That happens all tomorrow. With regard to the aid that the president just mentioned there, we were with an organization that's received at least 30 million of the 60 million that the president mentioned with the Gazan Humanitarian Foundation. A lot of former special forces, Americans. We were in the southern part of Gaza yesterday near a town called Rafah. Very impressive display. They've been operating for a little more than 2 months. Hasn't been easy, fits and starts as we go. Listen to Mike. We're only using his name, Mike. That's the request he made for his own security. We agreed to that condition. He's an American, former special forces. He's in charge of security for this organization. Watch here.
So this is a berm here that's been set up with all this razor wire in every direction. This is the gathering area.
Right, so just north of that, you can't see them, but there's crowds of people up there right now. Probably 3,000 to 5,000 people up there. And the IDF is holding them back with some warning shots. And as soon as that stops and the tanks pull back, that's the signal to those people. We'll put a green flag up as well. That's a signal for them to come in. Now they'll come flooding in to this site here, down these 2 roads, and then down here, down the center as well. You'll see it'll look like a human tidal wave.
Yeah, indeed it does, too. And you see the young boys who reach that area first. They're the healthiest of the group. They're the fastest of the group. They grab what they can when they can. Dana, we just reached out to their organization a short time ago. They have 4 sites set out through Gaza, that 26-mile stretch of land that we've been talking about for the past 2 years running. They went to 2 distribution sites today, and they tell us they put more than 1.1 million meals delivered again today. So there's a process in motion here. Plus the other countries from overseas that are doing airdrops in the Gaza as well. They see the need, they're trying to meet it, but it is a big, big challenge, Dana.
And then one of the things that is, I guess, making it more difficult is that it is an ongoing war situation, and Hamas continues to hold on to the hostages. Yes. Lawrence Jones had an incredible interview with the brother of the hostage that Hamas basically exploited the other day on video, showing him starving. And I wonder what it's like to be there in the middle of it, where you're trying to provide aid to an enemy that is being suppressed by the leadership, which is Hamas.
Yeah, it's an ongoing conflict. You must understand that. Everybody's trying to fight for their own safety and security. With regard to Lawrence's interview, I thought that man made such a presentation on behalf of the UN yesterday. and standing up for his brother. It was quite emotional. And I don't know how any human heart cannot listen to his pleas and the pictures he showed of his brother and his sister and not think, man, let's help them somehow. I'm going to take it back to Mike because I talk about this active war zone that you mentioned, okay? This is what we saw, okay? Now just to let you know, you have cranes, several of them that are armed by Israeli snipers above. They're 50, 60, 70 feet in the air, and they're running crowd control. Watch this.
Look, it's an act of war, I get that, but why so much gunfire as we stand here on behalf of the Israeli army?
Through hard experience, we figured out that's the only way to keep the crowd back. They don't listen to reason, they don't listen to words. No amount of flashbangs or grenades will hold them back, like the non-lethal stuff. They end up running through. The only thing that holds them back is the threat of gunfire hitting right in front of them. We're not doing it. But
and you have to think they're desperate and they're hungry.
That's right. And you can feel the desperation level rise as they come in. You'll feel the energy when they come in. It's palpable.
Yeah, and you heard him say, we're not doing that. He's referring to the U.S. And the American operation that's underway there. Danny, you asked me at the beginning whether or not the Israelis are going to go back into Gaza. Ironically, 20 years ago this month, August 15th of 2005, the then Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, ordered all the Jewish settlers to come out of Gaza, and the Israelis left 20 years ago this month. We'll see what he says about that tomorrow.
It was interesting. 20 years ago this month, it was a big week. I was a deputy press secretary. There was so much going on all at once. I mean, of course, we had Hurricane Katrina as well at the end of that month. So many things were happening overseas. And I'm curious, just well, in the limited time we have left, I know that you were there covering the war later on that year. And I wonder how you feel things have changed or not in those 20 years.
Wow. Yeah, the Middle East is a matrix. It always is. I would tell you every time I come here, unfortunately, it's usually during a time of conflict. And I look out to I see the Eastern Mediterranean, and it's so beautiful. And people are out in the streets, you know, the business is back and cars are moving and there's people enjoying the weather here. And I just think, you know, if they could find a way, I mean, this would be just a beautiful part of the world. And unfortunately, that's not the reality now. But some within the Israeli leadership are trying to change that and make that permanent. We'll see whether or not they can make that happen under very difficult and very trying conditions.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.